Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. Today is stage 1 of Volta a Catalunya. This is a great race. Now we're starting to see where we're going to split off from the classic guys for these next few weeks. Stage race guys do Volta a Catalunya and of course País Vasco. Fantastic race, País Vasco. One of the best week-long stage races in the world. You will not see a stronger field than at the Tour of the Basque Country there over anything else. Not Tour of Swiss, not Dauphiné. Those are really hyped up because they come before the Tour. But really, when you get to the Basque Country, it'll start about here at Catalunya, but it'll really grow when you get to the Basque Country with the quality of field. Everyone will be on form by then because then the classics are going to mix with the big guys and the smaller GC guys when we're talking about Amstel, Flèche Wallonne, and Liège, Bastogne-Liège. But today in stage 1 at the Volta a Catalunya, it's a great stage. I've done this many times. It's normally pretty set and dry. You're going to go up the last climb and a group either holds off or doesn't, but it doesn't change much on the GC each time I've been involved in this race. It's the later stages that are more exciting. Stage 1 is more about a sprinter taking the stage or a small breakaway gaining some time. The big news though today is Chris Froome. I mean, we're getting kind of far into his recovery process now. I personally believe, because I've lived through what he's going through, a big crash that I had in 2014 in the tunnel in Italy. I went through the tunnel, got hit by a car, punctured lungs, ended up puncturing again 2 weeks later, broken ribs, broken shoulder, all kinds of damage, scars on the head, cut open, bleeding everywhere. What I believe Froome is going to be running into now, because he's a solid year into being back on the bike full time. And so his problem, I believe, is going to be he has not recovered physically from whatever damage was done to him during his crash. It's no longer now about his training, about his dedication, about his professionalism. He is doing everything at the very top level. Nobody is more professional than Chris Froome. His training at home, his diet at home, his preparations for the races when it comes to just making sure that you arrive at the races in best form possible. He's number one. You can't think, I don't believe at this moment, he's been at home this whole year training and doing less than what he thinks he needs to do. So the only thing that is telling me today, when I'm watching him get dropped, he's suffering at 58K to go. This is only 70 miles into the race, and you're seeing a Tour de France champion, a Giro champion, a Tour of Spain champion, one of the greatest Grand Tour winners that we've seen when you're talking outside of Eddie Merckx. So this guy is professional. When I had my problem, though, what it was is every time I went out training, because of the lungs getting punctured, the lung not working right, whatever bug and disease and infection I was getting in my lungs, I can no longer train the way that I wanted to. Years passed for 24, 23 years, whatever it was. I could leave December, head down to training camp in San Diego on my own, and I could tell you 3 weeks later I'd be fit and ready to go and the training would be perfect, assuming I didn't get sick while I was down there. What Froome is experiencing now, there's something in his body that's not allowing him to do the training that he's normally capable of doing. So he's not recovering from the training he's doing, and then that doesn't allow him to have the big training day the next day, or worse yet, he tries and pushes and has that big training day and then puts himself even further in the hole. Clearly the problem. There's no doubt about it, whether if it's an alignment issue, whether if he has some kind of issue inside the body that's just not healing. But now he's not going to have it, it's no longer under his control on what's going to happen to him in the future if he can reach that great form again. It's really going to rely on what his body does internally. Can he help that? Absolutely. You can go see the best doctors in the world. I assume he's already seen that. He could do the best rehab work in the world. I assume he's already done that. So if you've done all those, the only thing that's left for him now is whatever is ailing him in the body, whether it be alignment or a sickness thing. For me, it was the lungs. They got infected and I could never get them cleared up. I'd do massive doses of antibiotics for a year straight. I'd come off the antibiotics and I would race fantastic. then the cough and whatever problem I was having in the lungs would come back, and it would affect my training, it would affect my diet, it would affect my sleep, it would affect my recovery, and therefore the next day it would affect my training. So instead of being able to do 6 hours, I can only do 3, and then I had to eat more just to recover from a 3-hour ride. So when I see Froome here, that's what I see is the exact same scenario I had, just whether if it's a muscle alignment issue or if it's some kind of internal problem different than the lungs, of course, then that is what he's going to have to deal with. But that's going to need to heal first before we ever see Froome come back to the quality rider that we've seen. Now let's get into the bike race, because Movistar takes over at 65K to go. God bless Movistar. They're my favorite team out there. Bunch of knuckleheads, being ran by a bunch of knuckleheads. The team itself is fantastic. The riders are amazing. They're strong. They're beautiful. They deliver. Alejandro Valverde is my favorite rider. Always has been in the peloton. He's all class, guys. 40 years old. Been winning bike races, won stage races and grand tours and everything. So he's my favorite. So when I say this, I say it with a little bit of cringe in the heart, because they got a bunch of knuckleheads running the show. Every time they get on a climb, they just decide they want to full throttle it like it's the 90s or something like that. You got a 9-man team back there that you could just blow as many guys as you want and drive it to the line. Instead, they take over from Bora Hansgrohe that had been doing most of the work at today's stage. They drill it up the climb. They start with only 6. By the time they go over the climb, they have 4. When you have Valverde, Enric Mas, and Marc Soler, that's 3 already of your favorite guys racing for GC on Movistar, and they only have 4 there going over the climb. It's 25 miles to go about to the finish, so call it 40K, and you only have one Movistar to ride all the way from the top down to the finish. You ain't going to make it happen, guys. So when the break goes, it's a good break. Lennart Kemna, and this kid, if it was anybody else that couldn't climb for sure, you can let that break go, it doesn't matter. But then what was the point of Movistar even riding to begin with? So if they're not going to make it a sprint for Valverde, what was the point? If they're not going to ride anybody on the front and they can't control it all the way to the finish line, what was the point of riding with Bora Hansgrohe? Should have just let Bora Hansgrohe ride all the way up the top at a slow pace, let Sagan try to win his stage. Instead, they drop Sagan, but they still got 70 guys left, and they can't win with this group of 4, because out of the 4, there's 3 guys are leaders, so there's only 1 guy left. If you got 1 guy left, you can't control a field of 70, 80 riders. When the group of 4 go off, it's a strong group. Luis Leon Sanchez, amazing Spanish rider, super strong and motivated because they're racing in Spain. Lennart Kemna, stage winner of the Tour de France. Great young kid that's coming on strong, and we don't know how well he can climb. So you don't want Kemna going all the way to the finish and gaining a minute time on a race like Catalunya, where he might be able to survive these climbs and win the overall general classification if you give him a minute lead. Remember, since 2019, we don't know what these young kids can do. We know Kemna can ride the bike. We know he can climb pretty decent, not with the best in the world, but maybe he can when you're talking about a 6-day stage race with a minute gap. That group gets away. They're riding well together. Behind, where's Movistar? Nowhere. So what was the plan, guys? You're going to ride all the way up the climb. You're going to destroy your whole team. Now what? You're going to have Alejandro Valverde chasing brakes. That's what he did. So now his legs are getting tired. Marc Soler chasing brakes. Now his legs are getting tired. We got a time trial tomorrow. Great job, Movistar team directors. You're back there and you just killed your team, and you got your favorite riders for GC now wasting legs, going up for a win that's never going to happen. All right, let's get back to the break, because they come down to 1.5K to go, and they were working great. 30, 40-second gap with 1.5K to go. And Lennart Kemna at this point in time, that young kid, he did a great job getting in the break, right? He jumped in there, thinks he's got a chance of winning the stage, thinks he's going to have time gained on all the favorite climbers and stuff. He's all motivated. He's up there riding hard. 1.5K to go. He forgets what the objective is. Now he thinks he wants to win the sprint. Okay. It's hard to do when you're a young kid. But when you're Lennart Kemna and you've ridden already the way you did last year at the Tour de France, and we all know you're a climber, the other 3 guys in this break, they know you want time. And so with 1.5K to go, this is where Lennart Kemna makes a mistake. He starts looking back. He's looking over the shoulder, right? Slowing the pace down. The time from the field up to them is dropping fast. Leonard Kamna needed to decide way before that 1.5K to go, is he riding for time or is he riding for the stage? Now, he's half the size of those other three guys that he's with, so I would imagine you're running for time because you can climb. So for me, at that point in time, I'm driving to the line as hard as I can to keep that 30 or 40 second gap so that I can go into the time trial and then carry more time into the mountain stages. Instead, he wants everything. He wants the whole pie. So he wants to try to win the stage, so he slows the speed down, loses the time gap from the back, of course gets beat in the sprint. I mean, Andreas Krohn, fabulous win from the Lotto Soudal rider. He starts from the back. He's grabbing a draft. All three are side by side like that at one point in time with about 100 meters to go. Andreas Krohn is coming from the back. He's getting a beautiful draft. So he's going to slingshot right off those guys with about 75 meters to go and take a beautiful win. Another young kid. That's all we're talking about here on the Butterfly Effect. Every year since 2019 is just young kids after young kids. Beautiful stage to watch. Movistar, I love the guys because, man, if they don't mess up, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to talk about here on this particular race. But Movistar always doing the tactics wrong. Whenever there's a climbing stage, they just go to the front and drill it. It's not the 90s anymore. You don't have 9, 10-man teams left. You can't afford to blow guys left and right and leave only your GC guys up there with 25 miles to go. I mean, 40K to the finish line, and you got three of the best guys that could possibly win the general classification here at this Spanish race. And instead, they're covering moves and covering attacks and wasting their legs the day before a time trial starts tomorrow. To do what? All they did was give away time. They were lucky Kamna messed up a little bit, gave back 20, 30 seconds there at the finish when he should have just drove it to the line. Movistar, you get my Knucklehead Award on the Butterfly Effect. Hope you guys liked the show today. Tune in tomorrow. Time trial. Should be an exciting week of racing. This period is amazing for bike racing. Enjoy the Butterfly Effect, and I'll see you real soon.